Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marshall Occurrence rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day. You know, I'm rock with America. You already know how it is. If you don't know, now you know. All right, so my whole thing is this. I wanted to talk about the whole era of us getting what we needed in the beginning, what we should have fought for in the beginning as the African American community. The first mistake that we made, which let me clear this up, we respect the heroes of all the heroes of the times of fighting for African American rights. We definitely salute that. We respect that. There's no problem with respecting it when people lay down their lives for the right cause, for people that's oppressed, even outside of the African American community. Some white people put their lives, they died. Not only did they put their lives on the line, they died. And let me make this clear, which I'll probably make a video of this. I'm very aware that there was always some white people that were helping the African Americans at all times, for the most part, except probably for the very beginning when African slaves were first brought here. People probably wasn't helping then, but as time went by, there were some white people that used to put blankets up on their windows as a sign that slaves could come there. From my understanding, they would put up certain blankets that would be a signification that slaves were safe to come to those particular houses. So there were white people helping up from that time on. We could assume from the time where slaves were escaping, there were white people that were putting blankets up against their windows so that slaves could see that they were these blankets, obviously, and it was an indication that they were able to come there. Okay, so what I want to cover though is during those times of the struggles of from slavery on out, up, from the beginning when we were getting up on our feet and standing on our own. From that point, that's why I really want to hit right there. From that point, we did the best we could, but we have to understand. We have to learn from history. We have to learn from our mistakes, and we can't act like we did everything right. We just felt, I look at it as the ancestors felt they were going in the right direction. I look at it like that. Okay? That's how I look at it. Now, this is not even being critical in any way. It's being, first of all, a student of history, understanding where we should go after we studied history, learning from our mistakes, learning from the mistakes we made. Okay? So I needed to say all of that so you understand I'm not coming from a funny angle or anything. Okay? So my thing is, at some point, we should have stopped following behind where the white man went. We should have stopped following behind the path of the white man. We knew he was racist. We knew he didn't have good intentions. And then we shouldn't have, the flaw was, we shouldn't have kept going in the direction of in the path of the white man. He didn't want us in that path. He didn't want us to go the way we went. He made it clear that he did not want us to go in the path of his people. So what I think is we should have looked at the Native American people, which was apparently there. It was apparently clear during even those times that the Native Americans were living on reservations. They've been living on reservations for a very long time. And it's surprising that a good amount of African Americans wouldn't have looked at that and say, hey, maybe we should go after that. Maybe we should go and be on a reservation instead of trying to go in the direction of the white man, trying to get up on our feet and work in his world and live in his world. And what we would have done with that land, we would have improvised and made it something greater than it was. When I tell you that, you might just think about land. You might not think about the possibilities with the land. And that's what I personally think we should have did. I think we should have just went in the direction of the Native Americans instead of going in the direction of the white man. Because we're always talking about 40 acres and a mule. We need our 40 acres and a mule. Well, the reservations, if we had them, would be almost the equivalent of 40 acres and a mule. The Native Americans have the reservations and the casinos. That's like 40 acres and a mule. Maybe we could have got casinos too. Let's put it like this. If we would have went to the American government and asked them to give us the equivalent of what the Native Americans were given, considering that we both had suffered great tragedies at the hands of the settlers of America, I do not think we would have been denied. I do not think they would have denied us. Now, I know this is Native American land, so it was very easily persuasive to most people that they should have it. However, we were also brought here without a land, without anywhere to go, pushed into slavery, pushed into death. And that would have been the persuasion, or persuasive enough, considering we were almost, we suffered tragedy just as the Native Americans did, which would have put us basically in the same situation, in the same boat. And we could have got basically the equivalent of reservation land for African Americans. And then we could have you still could have came outside of that land and did whatever you wanted to do, and could have did whatever you wanted to do. And then we would have still had that land to fall back on, just in case something went wrong, just in case we didn't want to mess with the white man anymore. And then we could have got the casinos too. Then we would have been wilding out. This is something that I haven't heard it from nobody. I haven't heard it. I've studied a good amount of people's intakes on things, and I haven't heard anyone say anything like that. We should have fought for the equivalent of Native American reservation land. That's what we should have did. But instead, like I said, we fought for to be as the white man, and it never was going to happen, and it still hasn't happened. We still trying to follow his path. And now it's kind of too late to ask him for reservation land. It's kind of too late for that. Don't you think? I think it's too late. But, you know, that's what we should have did. We should have fought for, because the voting, we didn't know any better. I don't think everybody knew. I mean, but it isn't hard to think about this, though. Okay, if the man doesn't really like you, the police don't like you, the law system is not for you, why are you really trying to vote? Your vote is not going to work in your favor. I think after a while, I think I would have let a certain amount of time go by, and then I would have seen that the votes were not working for our favor. Politics, even up to date, is not working for our favor. In what ways? In what ways are politics working? Because, man, these days, you don't really know if the Democrats are any good anymore. I mean, we used to think that back in the 90s. Okay. Back in the Clinton era, that was a good sweet spot with, Democrats. But after that, who was after, and then Barack Obama. So I would say since about, what? How long was that? About 6 years ago? Democrats haven't been in a good space. Just keep it 100. Just keep it a buck. They ain't been in the right place. So, that being said, I don't know, if these politics are going to work for people that look like me. For me and people that look like me. Because Joe Biden politics ain't working. Just look at it like a basketball team. Joe Biden politics ain't working. You know what I'm saying? If you look at 20 years of progress, that's the main thing that's going to stop him from getting another election, another term. He look like he don't even want another term. He look like he don't want another term. He look like he don't want another one. Look at him. Do he look like he want another term? Not really. Okay, so, I don't know if these politics are working for people like me. So I'm not going to be voting anymore. And some people say, well, if you don't vote, don't complain. If you don't vote, don't complain. Well, if life was that simple, that would be the case. People are going to complain regardless of their vote or not. I'm sorry. Something you can't stop. And when you look at the options, and especially if you put the right person in there that everybody wanted anyway, then you still got what you wanted, and therefore everybody can complain. Well, you got the right person in there. The person that you wanted. So it wasn't like me not voting stopped the right person that the American community wanted in the office. So that person still got in there. Therefore, everybody still got who they wanted. And when they don't do right, we therefore can all complain. We all can complain. Once we got the person we thought that was going to do something, we all thought this certain person was going to do something. Not that we didn't have enough votes to get the right person. Then that's when you can't complain. If you didn't vote, well, your vote could have put the right person in office. But if we got the right person in office, then we can therefore complain. I just feel that politics are not meant to change the world. It's not. It's what you want it to do, but it's not what it's going to do. I do not believe American politics definitely can change America. Okay, first of all, American laws are 44 states marrying children. I mean, you know I'm pulling out my gun every time. You know this. You know this. 44 states marrying children. Okay? So how are those politics going to help us? Hey, you got to put two and two together. You got to put that mentality with the mentality to help you. How is those politics that marry children, 44 states marry children, 37 months ago, they added a law that allows adults to marry children at any age. 37 months ago, by the way. That's not a long time ago. It's less than 50 months ago. 37 months ago, they passed laws that allow adults to marry children at any age throughout the country. Just 37 months ago, this child marriage perspective has manifested through the laws. So, with this being relevant, how is this supposed to change? How are these politics, these people going to change? These politicians are going to change your life for non-white people. Oh, you need it now. You don't need nobody there tripping with COVID. You don't need nobody in the White House tripping. For real. No, you can't afford it now. You got COVID, monkeypox, inflation. Inflation is what you really got to worry about. Inflation is a monster. Inflation is the worst of them all almost. That's almost worse than COVID. Eating up your check. That's horrible. How are you going to deal with a weak president? How are you going to deal with an evil president? How are you going to deal with a racist president? And you got all this stuff going on. Y'all, I'm telling you, man, you got to prepare. When's the next time somebody's supposed to get in office? 4 years, right? So that would be what? 2005? 2025? 2025. Okay. 2025, y'all gonna get a new president. Okay, that's not a long time. You got two solid years left. 2003, 2004. You got 2 solid years left. 2 years and a half, basically. That time is gonna fly. 2 years and a half. Talking about 30 months or so, right? Actually, 29 months. 29 months left before you get a new president, basically. It's not a long time. So all that's going to happen as we go into the days ahead, it's going to get very, very dark. And I'm telling you why. Because there's coming a new president. There's going to be a new president. We don't know who it is. You hope it ain't Donald Trump. And you don't know who it's going to be on the Democratic side. You don't know who it's going to be on the Republican side. And what's probably going to happen, there's going to come somebody with Donald Trump's style or charisma. See, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. If Donald Trump gets prosecuted, it's just going to be like a guy that's in jail. his baby mama's going to go with somebody else. It'll sink in. Right about now. Yeah, there you go. The baby mama is going to go with somebody else when Donald Trump's locked up. So all the Trump supporters, once they realize Donald Trump is gone, they're going to go with the next thing smoking out of the Republican side. I'm telling you now. So they're going to be smart enough as the Republicans to play off of the Donald Trump movement. I'm trying to show you. Listen now, listen to what I'm saying. They would have did this without me talking about it. This isn't my genius coming out and they not going to take advantage of it. Don't look at it like that. They are going to take advantage of Donald Trump's movement. And you better get someone, you Democrats, you better get somebody in, you better get somebody with some charisma. You better get somebody that got that charisma, because it ain't gonna be just some nice guy. See, that's how Joe Biden try to play it. I'm just a nice guy that want to do good by America. That's not gonna work. That's why they voted for Donald Trump. They don't want a nice guy. They don't. They don't. They want someone tough. They want somebody that got the strength. They want somebody that got the charisma. Okay? They took a chance with Joe Biden, and look what happened. Look what happened. So no one really wants a nice guy anymore. You got politics. You guys have messed up as far as Russia. You've messed up as far as China. It's getting, you cannot afford a weak leader. And you got COVID and monkeypox and inflation. They're going to take a chance on a Republican. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you right now. The American community is not going to take a chance on the Democratic side. You better prepare for it, which means most likely we're going to go into another Republican administration. Cold and dark. You know how it is. Hateful. It's going to be all of that. I'm sorry, but the American community is not going to take a chance. The American community is not going to take a chance on a pushover, a softie. They're not going to take a chance. It's just too much at stake. You got war. I'm in alliance with Russia myself personally. Okay, you started problems with Russia. You started problems with China. You can't afford to have a weak leader. You can't. You can't. You can't afford it. And that's how most veterans and Americans are going to think. You can't afford it. Therefore, they're going to choose a Republican. So they're going to gear up and take advantage of that Donald Trump movement regardless. So just in case y'all thought y'all got rid of Donald Trump, his movement, who someone else is going to pick up, because these Trump supporters are just going to want a Republican in there. You got to look at it for what it is. They're not going to come to the Democratic side. Let's put it like this. They're not going to vote for a Democrat. We know this. Okay? We know this. So all the Trump supporters are still going to vote Republican. That part. Okay? So it kind of really doesn't matter who it is. They're going to vote Republican. And that's what you got to worry about. The Trump supporters, just trying to get a Republican in the White House. Even if you get rid of Donald Trump, his supporters are going to transform and just go with anybody that's Republican. They're going to still wear their little hats. You know they are. And they're going to vote Republican. Okay? This is what you have to worry about, is the blind vote, the blind Republican vote of the Trump supporters. It's pretty massive. You're going to have to worry about the blind vote of the Trump supporters. The blind Republican vote. When it doesn't even matter who it is. They're just going to put whoever in there. It's going to be close because of that. And then it's going to be close because the other percentages of the community, whether they be Republican, what's left over of the Republican community and what's left over in the Democratic community, some of them are even converting to Republican. They're going to want someone in there that is strong enough to deal with the inflation, the COVID, the monkeypox, the mass shootings. And unfortunately, Democrats these days are a little laid back. I'm just being, for lack of a better word, they're a little laid back when it comes to these things. Okay? And that's going to take part of the Republican vote as a result. So in my opinion, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a fortune teller. I just believe that the Republicans are just going to get it because of the times that we live in and the blind Trump supporters vote, just their blind vote for Republican. They're going to pick the best next thing to Donald Trump. That's already in the bag. They ain't voting Democrat. You think them Trump supporters are going to come all the way out of the Republican movement and vote Democrat? No. This is what you have to consider now. This is what you can't wait till the last minute. You got to consider this now. You got to consider the blind Trump supporter vote. They're going to vote just blindly for whoever's in there. That's a lot of people. That's a big movement. That is probably going to influence other people. Who knows? That's what they probably do. And then you're going to have some Democrats that are going to convert to the Republican Party temporarily because of the issues that America has right now. COVID, monkeypox, inflation, mass shootings. They're going to vote temporarily for Republicans just to try to save what's left of the country. And then you're going to have, what else after that? Oh, the other Republicans they're just going to go, obviously, with the next best thing, like the Trump supporters, and there you have it. You have a threefold party, three different parties that's already going to vote probably for Republicans. And whatever is left after that is going to vote Democrat. That's what you're up against. And you got to realize this today. You can't wait to 2024, the last year, and then trying to go out and run around. You got to start now, and you got to start sponsoring a candidate now. You got to start warming up the Democrat side now. You got to, because if you don't, what you're going to do is find out that you're overwhelmed by the Republican vote. Okay? Remind you, just like I said, the solid opposition that ain't going nowhere is the blind Trump supporter vote, the blind MAGA vote. Okay? That's a blind vote that the Republicans are going to win regardless. It doesn't matter who it is that they find. They're just not going to let the Democrats get back in there. These people are unorthodox, and they're not going to let Democrats win, especially after all this that done happened. And the main thing is, and everybody agree, it's the Democrats dealing with the Afghanistan war. They're trying to be as quiet as possible about this, but the military is what's going to amplify it. They're going to lose the military vote if they try to put Joe Biden back in there, because they messed up. I don't know if you guys know this, because some of you are not conscious of this. When they went over there messing with Afghanistan, pulling those troops out, all those troops were a progression of 20 years of progress that was the response to what happened on 9/11, right? In 2001, when the trade centers went down, the Americans began to go over in Afghanistan, right? They began to go over there. All that progress from that time was destroyed by the Biden's administration. Men lost their lives, children lost their lives by the drone attack that killed children. All the ISIS group is now back on top.